Thank you, Lalit, and the team, for hosting this here. It's nice to see a lot of people who are really interested in invention and innovation. I mean, it was beautifully highlighted how some of the innovations are different from inventions. Somebody invented the mobile phone, and see the innovations happening on a mobile phone or even on an EV technology. So some of the last subjects, my previous speaker, who was a brilliant innovator, said we have to kind of now get back to those topics. It's so important. This particular event is so important for us to really understand where we are and how do we really go about. So I'm going to share with you not about what I am doing, but what Aravind did in the last 50 years as we celebrate our Golden Jubilee this year. So this all started way back in 1976 in an 11-bed. It was a small house of Dr. Venkataswamy. And then the story continued. And now we have 8 tertiary care centers. We have 7 secondary care centers. And we have several community eye clinics and primary eye care centers or vision centers across the state of Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry, and one hospital outside the state in Tirupati. Under the guidance of the Devasthanam, we had to start a hospital. So if you see any given day, we see roughly around 20,000 patients. Yesterday we saw around 23,000 patients on a Saturday. We do more than 3,500 surgeries and procedures, and we do a lot of other activities like teaching, training, building capacity for other hospitals. So a lot of activities happen around eye care. This is just to show you what happened last Saturday, which was our record-breaking numbers. 25,838 patients, one single day across the system. And if you see, Madurai sees them at maximum, somewhere around 6,000, followed by Chennai, 3,600 plus patients, and then Pondi, nearly 3,000, and Coimbatore, 3,000, Tirunelveli, 3,000. So this is the kind of volume. To deal with this volume, there are several innovations have happened over the years. So how was this made possible? How did one man's vision restore sight and dignity to over 10 million people so far? I mean, this is what Dr. Venkataswamy used to say.
The driving force behind it was Dr. Govindappa Venkataswamy, an ophthalmologist fueled by a compassionate vision.
He set out to cure blindness, not just in his own town or the state of Tamil Nadu, but for the entire world.
So he was very clear from the beginning when he was working in government that he's going to take care of or eradicate needless blindness, not in Tamil Nadu, not in India, but the entire globe. And that's what we are still working on, and we will continue to do in the future also. So his vision was very clear. He had a very, very clear vision to eliminate needless blindness. And he said, we are going to do that by a kind of high quality eye care for all. Whether they can afford or not afford doesn't matter. Whether they can reach us or not doesn't matter. We are going to give the best quality eye care. So he believed the inspiration can come from anywhere. And interestingly, his inspiration way back in the 70s was McDonald's. He always kept talking about McDonald's. Don't think about the junk food at this point of time. Think about the quality of food, the pricing of the food, the availability of McDonald's. Wherever you go, you are guaranteed like $5 to $6 or maybe 250, 300 rupees. You will get a good quality food. How are they able to sustain that? How are they able to do that across the globe, either in airports or railway stations or in smaller cities? How are they able to deliver that? This was always in the back of his mind.
See, McDonald's concept is simple. They feel they can train people all over the world, irrespective of different religions, different culture, different all those things, to produce a product in the same way and deliver it in the same manner in hundreds of places.
He kept talking about McDonald's and hamburgers, and none of it made any sense to us. He wanted to create a franchise, a mechanism of delivery of eye care with the efficiency of McDonald's.
Supposing I'm able to produce eye care techniques, methods, and all those things the same way and make it available in every corner of the world, the problem of blindness is gone.
He had a very clear thought. This was from his childhood, but at some point, it got a shape when he started the hospital in 1976. And now we are going to celebrate the Golden Jubilee this year. So, but when he started, he said, people who can afford care can come to any hospital or to come to any infrastructure where you have built. But he was always thinking about searching and serving the needy. How do we reach the non-customers? It was very interesting when I joined in 94, he was using these terms which I've never heard in my school or in college. When you say non-customers, what is non-customers? They are your non-patients. How do you reach them? How do you make sure that everyone can afford your care? These are things which were really puzzling, but he had an answer for every puzzle behind it. So we had hospitals like the one which you see here, where they are like outpatient services working from 7:30 to 5 to 5:30 in the evening. And the most important thing is, you all know, you can come into this hospital at any time and register and have your eye exam done. Maybe some investigations or procedures, you would get appointments, but there was no appointment system. It was a kind of an open door for examination. If you can afford, you come to paying. If you can't afford, you go to the other charitable side. And this all kind of created an easy access to all those facilities. But he was always thinking of people who cannot access these eye cares. And he was always, he used to say, and it is also written in some of his books, about how he learned from a blind beggar in a temple called Tirupurangundram temple near Madurai. He was seeing him begging for several years. At some point, he had a cataract and then he became blind, but he was still begging. So Venkataswamy went and asked him, we have a hospital in Madurai, which is not very far away from here. We are doing free surgery. Why not you get it done? He said, for you, it is free. For me, I have to spend 100 rupees. So this was way back in 70s. To spend that to and fro, to take care of my meal, I need to beg. So where will I go and beg? I can't beg in your hospital. So that's the reason I'm not able to take care. And that changed his whole thought process. He said, we have to take these people from the community. We have to operate them and leave them back. And that's how he created one of the greatest innovations of outreach eye camps. Today we reach, or we do close to 100,000 surgeries every year through these eye camps. It's all done in semi-urban, rural areas where there is absolutely no eye care. You have seen some of those camps. Even Manatech was organizing some camps recently for their staff. So patients, they are like this, they are in big lines, they need care. So every investigation is tried to be done in the campsite. Like we take a hospital to the campsite. We do refractions, we do eye testings, and patients who really need care, who need surgery, are brought to the base hospital. The other big problem, now beyond cataract, what we see is, you all know how diabetes is increasing. So this is a data which Dr. Mohan did some years back, of the Mohan Diabetic Center. From 1975 to 2014, you can see every green zone is becoming red zone. And now recently they did a study in 24. This has still become worse. Your urban diabetic is more than 25-30%. Your rural is catching up. Before, rural was less, but rural is quite catching up now to the urban. So when diabetes increases, there are several complications happens, including diabetic retinopathy. And what we understand from studies is, anybody with diabetes, 20% will have retinopathy. If there are 100 people, at least 20 will have diabetic eye problems in the retina, which is very important. Again, it is preventable. If you control diabetes, if you do laser and injections in the right time, you can prevent blindness in many of these patients. And this is what you see. This is like a normal eye where I can see the nerve. Eye is the only place where you can see the nerve from outside. No other place you can see from outside. The nerve and the blood vessel. So anything happens in diabetes, I can see in the eye. Like these are all leaking of bloods. This is called hemorrhage. And then the proteins from the blood vessels come out. This is called exudation, what you see as yellow and white ones. So when we see this, we know that diabetes is there for a few years, uncontrolled, leading to these problems. So what we did over a period of time is, we collaborated with several diabetic clinics in and around Madurai and Tirunelveli and Coimbatore, where we had hospitals. So we collaborated with the diabetic centers to take fundus images, and then those fundus images would come to the hospital through email, and then we would grade those pictures, and then people with retinopathy, we would give them a report. And then that report would be given to the patient. So the idea is the patient, if they cannot access eye care, but if they're going to a diabetic clinic, can we diagnose these problems? Which was not happening before. We tried and experimented, and it became a big model. So what happened was these staff take, and then our doctors see in a grading center, and then they give a report, and then the report goes back to them, and these usually takes 1 hour. By the time patient does another diabetic test, they would give the report. But at that point of time, this was way back in early 2000s when we started this hospital, and then somewhere in 2010, 2015, we started working with the Google team, on several projects. In fact, Larry Page had visited Madurai on a chartered flight to see how Aravind functions, and then he made Aravind a part of Google Charity and all that. So that's the time when we realized the power of AI. Now we are all using ChatGPT. Now we realized that in 2013. And then we started working with the Google AI team about diabetic, because we didn't have the competence now. But now we have at least 10 AI scientists working with us at Aravind. So we didn't have that competence way back in 2013. So we started working with them, and we found that artificial intelligence can beautifully detect diabetic retinopathy. You can comfortably detect diabetic retinopathy. You don't need a human there to see and grade. And this was a landmark work which was published in JAMA several years back. And now there are several work and several studies happening on. So you just drag an image into the software, and then it analyzes and gives you a report within 30 seconds to 1 minute. So that's the way. If you are doing something for 1 hour, can we do it in 1 minute now or less than that? It's practically possible. And some of the eye conditions beyond retinopathy, for glaucoma, for age-related macular degeneration, where you need a specialized retina expert to examine, now we have artificial intelligence doing it. But the work started way back in 2013. This is just to show you the sensitivity and specificity, all that. I'm not going to bore you, but I'm sure you...
Last year, we announced our work on diabetic retinopathy. It's a leading cause of blindness, and we use deep learning to help doctors diagnose it earlier. And we've been running field trials since then at Aravind and Sankara hospitals in India, and the field trials are going really well. We are bringing expert diagnosis to places where trained doctors are scarce. It turned out, using the same retinal scans, there were things which humans quite didn't know to look for, but our AI systems offered more insights. Your same eye scan turns out holds information with which we can predict the 5-year risk of you having an adverse cardiovascular event, heart attack or strokes. So to me, the interesting thing is that, more than what doctors could find in these eye scans, the machine learning systems offered newer insights.
So what was interesting is that, we were training the AI to detect a diabetic hemorrhage and an exudate, but the machine learning and the deep learning started looking at the blood vessels to predict the exact HbA1c value, to predict the exact blood pressure of the patient. I'm sure Dr. Murugesan is excited on all this, but we still have to work. We still have to work on more and more data to get all that information. No, you don't have to put a cuff. You don't have to do a blood test. You just take a retinal image, and you put it into the software, and that would say, what is your blood pressure? What is your HbA1c? What is your cardiovascular risk in the next 5 years and 10 years if you don't control all this? So that's the way sometimes, you start working on something and then you land on interesting stuff. In fact, now we are collecting anterior segment images, just the outside of the eye. From the blood vessel in your outside the eye, we are able to predict the blood sugar levels now. So that's the way now the technology is taking us, especially the artificial intelligence. So what used to take 1 hour now, it takes 1 minute for us now to give the report. But the part is now the ophthalmologist is totally removed. So they don't have to go and do that mundane job of seeing those images and grading. Now the AI does it. And we extensively use this in our primary eye care centers or vision centers where we don't have the doctors sitting in those clinics. So that's a part where, which was bothering. Even by doing outreach, what we realized, we did several studies to see how many people accessed an outreach. So this study was done one in 92 and again repeated in 2002. We were only reaching 7 to 14% of people who needed eye care, even through outreach. And that's when Dr. V said, we need to create permanent centers. And it should be teleconnected to the base hospital. And that's how we created something called the vision centers. And now we have 117 vision centers. Every day, each center is seeing almost 50 outpatients, which is roughly around 6,000 outpatients every single day. And every patient gets telemedicine. The prescription goes online. Your glasses can be done there, like how you are going to see in this video shortly. We have 19 centers in Pondicherry. The one you see is in a place called Kurinjipadi, which is not very far away from Neyveli. And then we have another center in Vadalur and Setiatopu. So what they do is they not only do eye examination, but also they do blood pressure, blood sugar assessment, and immediately they take a fundus image. And now we have this AI at a click of a button. Within 30 seconds, I can analyze all their fundus images and then get a report for diabetic retinopathy, glaucoma, and ARMD. It will say whether to refer or not to refer. It will give you a clear picture whether the patient needs to go to a base hospital for examination or not. And then once all this is done, then they go to another person called the optometrist who do the refraction, they check for the vision. They also check the eye pressure, which is a very important test for glaucoma. And then they do all the dilatation, examining the back of the eye. So you have fundus image, which is taken even without dilatation, but some people with cataract or media opacities, we need to dilate and see the back of the eye. So all these tests are done. They are entered into the electronic medical record. The EMR is seen on the other side by our consultant, and then an opinion is given. And then they get a glass or a prescription or a referral to base hospital. So what we have seen is by doing this, 80% of care is done locally. Only 20% need to come here. And even during COVID, people were able to comfortably access. No e-pass, no share auto. They can walk, they can bicycle, they can go in a two-wheeler to these centers. So during COVID time, we did a lot of experimentation. It was a time where we didn't want to let that good crisis go waste. We did a lot of experiments. And I did an experiment with him because he was so good in using some of my technologies in the outdoor. So I said, can we Uberize eye care? Can we take eye care to people who cannot come to the hospital? So many of my glaucoma patients could not come back because they were fearing for COVID infection. They were old, they were diabetic. So what we did was we sent the technician to their home with all validated equipments. These are all innovated. They were all validated. And one of the innovators is sitting right in front of me. He will talk about that innovation which he did with us. But you can do now a visual field testing. You can take a fundus image. You can do intraocular pressure. Every test which a hospital can do can be in a bag now. And then you can do a teleconsult. And then you can go to the next home. So it's a brilliant idea for startup. Anybody interested? This is an idea which I can open it up. We did this experiment for almost like a month. We went to several houses, people were so happy. Their eye pressures were done, their pressures were normal, they were happy. If it was high, we could treat them. So this is one experiment which we thought now it would take eye care to another level, and we called it as Uberizing eye care. But what is more important is, all these innovations helped us to be, kind of in the cutting edge technology, at the same time offering the services to anybody who cannot afford. But to do that, we need to make our own supplies. And that's where, like Manatech, we started making our own supplies. We reverse engineered. We made $100 intraocular lens $2 by creating a facility called Aurolab, which was in 1992. And now it's a huge facility in Madurai, which is beyond intraocular lens. We do pharmaceuticals, we do surgical blades, we do sutures, even for other specialties, cardiovascular, and they are all high quality stuff with all the standards of CE. Few of them are FDA standard facilities in our hospital around Madurai. So this is how we were able to kind of reduce what the supply cost was to us, and also have no constant supply coming in for all these things. Even now, all the special lenses are made in Aurolab. If you want a multifocal, you want a toric lens, everything is made in our facility in Aurolab. We just don't stop with doing all this. We share our experience. We don't patent anything. We don't protect anything. No, we just share our experiences. We just share, because at the end of the day, our mission is to eradicate needless blindness across the globe. So what we do is we do something called, consultancy and capacity building. We have a separate division called LICO, the Lions Aravind Institute of Community Ophthalmology. They work with 367 hospitals. And by this, we are able to touch so many eyes and do so many procedures. But basically, Dr. V said, whatever you know, you have to share. It has to be an open book, because people have to learn from our experiments, learn from our learning curve. They should not be reinventing the wheel. And that's what we have been doing through LICO. So one thing I want to touch, because two of my good mentors and sustainability are here, Twain and Mohanty, who have contributed a lot in this campus also. So we have tried to make this campus green. I'm sure you are seeing this campus today. But now 70% of our needs is taken care by the solar. In only 30% we still buy, and also we try to buy clean energy. So this is the panels which you see here. When you walk towards the restroom, you can see that. And we have added more panels in the back. But beyond just solar, we have done a lot of things on sustainability. And for that, now we have been, many awards we have got, including the Healthcare Without Harm 2022 recognized as one of us the gold category in hospitals. So we do a lot of things in this. I'm not going to bore you. We try to reduce, reuse, recycle, like what you said, but very carefully with a lot of evidence-based practice, which you see here. So what we found that if you do properly, even in your operating room, 85% of your waste is not biomedical. We have proven that. We have given evidence. We have won several awards for this to say that only 15% should go to your landfill and incineration. Rest of the 85% can be properly reused and recycled or even repurposed. So this study, was a brilliant study done by a Fulbright fellow with me in 2017 and 18, where we found that one surgery in UK or in US is like running 500 kilometers in your car versus just 25 kilometers in Aravind. So that's 1/20th waste we generate here in our system. And then we have given several evidences to show that our infection rates are similar to what the Western world is, or our complication rates are similar. And this has been kind of well proven and kind of well practiced also in many places. So the evidence which we give here, right in this building, is now being practiced across the globe. This is a picture which one of my good friends, Dr. David Chang in California, shows this. Like this is one phaco case waste, versus 100 phaco cases in Pondicherry. So that's the kind of waste. Now, then they are trying to see this and now see what is Aravind doing? How are they able to kind of reduce their waste at the same time give the best results which we want to see? And they are now trying to cut down a lot of things. And we started an organization called iSustain through an association called American Society for Cataract and Refractive Surgeries, and we are working on this. And this, again, is all because some of our innovations in our practice. So what we feel is the triple P model, which you can really see. You always think about the patients. You make, you are friendly to the planet and you make profits. And that's a typical Aravind model where the profit is able to sustain the hospitals and also build new facilities. But what is more important was, for Venkataswamy was always those innovations, and we wanted to keep that alive, not just in systems, but also in tools and techniques and new instruments and new equipments. And that's where we started the Aravind Center for Eye Care Innovation, and we do annual hackathons. And what you see is a So we bring a lot of these young energy with problem statements from our doctors, and then we pair them up with brilliant engineers from IIT Tirupati, VIT Vellore, and also Tyagaraja Engineering College in Madurai. We have collaborations and MOU with those students, and then they come here and they work with our team, and they find solutions, which are making a big difference. And few of them are already patented. There are some startups there. And you'll see one of those startups, Sandal, making his presentation shortly. But Dr. We strongly believe that intelligence and capability is not enough. There should be a joy of doing something beautiful. And we are also trying to do something beautiful this Sunday, getting some of the innovative minds here. Thank you.